back to AP Microeconomics. We are about to end our last part of supply and demand, and we are going to focus on equilibrium. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to define and explain equilibrium, proving quantity, prove, and quantity. 2, create a graph that illustrates equilibrium price and quantity. 3, define and explain surpluses and shortages. 4, create a graph that illustrates surpluses and shortages. Describe how disequilibrium can create surpluses and shortages. And lastly, explain how markets eliminate them. Now, remember that the law of demand says that as price decreases, consumers demand a higher quantity. The law of supply says that when prices decreases, producers supply a lower quantity. In the graph shown here, both demand and supply curves have both price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. The demand curve and supply curve for a particular good or service can appear on the same graph. Together, demand and supply determine the price and the quantity that will be bought and sold in a market. Both of these relationships as shown as the demand and supply curves in the graph here. As you can see, at most prices, the amount that consumers want to buy, which is called quantity demanded, which is different from the amount that producers want to sell, which is quantity supplied. So what does it mean when the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied aren't the same? A surplus or a shortage. Now, equilibrium is the point where the supply curve S and the demand curve D intersect is the equilibrium. The equilibrium price is the only price where the desires of consumers and the desires of producers agree. That is, where the amount of the product that consumers buy, quantity demanded, is equal to the amount producers want to sell, quantity supplied. The mutually desired amount is called the equilibrium quantity. If you only have the demand and supply schedules and no graph, you can find the equilibrium by looking for the price level on the tables where the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied are equal. Now, at any other price, the quantity demanded does not equal the quantity supplied. So the market is not in equilibrium at that price. Now, what is the equilibrium price? Well, given what you already know about equilibrium, what is the equilibrium price shown on the graph? Well, you can see based on this point here, right there, you will see that the equilibrium price will be $1.40. So this is where this is where supply and demand intersect. That point in which those 2 points intersect on the graph, that's your equilibrium price. Now, when it comes to shortage or excess demand, when there's an excess demand or shortage occurs when the amount that producers want to sell is less than the amount that consumers want to buy. Anytime the price for a good is below the equilibrium level, so below that point of equilibrium that I showed in the previous slide, here at 140, The incentives built into the structure of demand and supply will create pressures for the price to rise. Similarly, anytime the price for a good is above the equilibrium level, similar pressures will generally cause the price to fall. So you always want to make sure that you get that happy point where the price is sufficient, all things equal, right? The ceteris paribus. Now, equilibrium and economic efficiency. Now, equilibrium is very important to create both a balanced market and an efficient market. A competitive market that is operating at equilibrium is an efficient market. Efficiency in the demand and supply model has the basic meaning. The economy is getting as much benefit as possible from its scarce resources, and all the possible gains from trade have been achieved. This is the optimal amount of each good and service is being produced and consumed. And that's pretty much what happens when you have equilibrium and an efficient market. So when you have good equilibrium, when the equilibrium is balanced, when you have a good equilibrium, you have a balanced market and efficient market. So back to the Great Depression example. So obviously the market was bad, right? And the economy was down, which increased inflation. So the inflation increased, unemployment was high, and you'll have this unbalance of equilibrium in the market. So that is how supply and demand work together, is through equilibrium. And this actually concludes our unit on supply and demand. Next, we will cover production possibilities curve, elasticity, and scarcity in a little bit more detail in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, you can certainly message me through Study Island, and I will be happy to assist you. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Have a great one. Bye.